Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It is Wednesday, the 29th of November 2017. Let's have a look at what's making the news. So to start off with, in The Guardian, just on the side column, as you can see, they're talking about child knife crime. Now, child deaths from knife crime is likely to be the worst since 2008, so nearly a decade. This is according to official figures obtained by The Guardian. 2017, currently 35 children and teenagers have been killed as a result of knife crime. This is data released following a 10-month negotiation with the Home Office and 45 police forces by the newspaper. 2007, however, remains the worst year on record, with 48 children and young people dying as a result of knife crime. Next up, just to get everyone really in the mood on a Tuesday morning, we're talking about rail strategies, the government today, which is launching their new rail report by Transport Secretary Chris Grayling. The big headline from this is that they're planning to reopen some of the UK railways which were closed in the 1960s and 70s. The hope of doing this is to effectively mean that those closed routes meant that there are a lot more of the standalone routes were a lot more busier and a lot more crowded, particularly now with population growth and people growth. And so by reopening these railway lines, hopefully you dissipate the demand and therefore crowding gets less and less. This is part of the government's overall rail strategy set out, which is also going to set out the way that private operating companies can work with Network Rail, which is of course the publicly owned company which runs the railway lines. Due to be significant in terms of that kind of effective and efficient functionality in that relationship. Labour, however, have called Mr Grayling's plans unfunded and unambitious. Let's look in focus, though, at the main story today. Now, this was covering pretty much all the papers, and this is the Brexit Divorce Bill. Now, we've been talking about this for months and months and months. We can now say that the EU and the UK have agreed some kind of Brexit divorce bill. Very sort of varied reporting on what the actual figure is, but let's take the FT. Gross amount of 97.9 billion euros, about 86 billion pounds. BBC saying about 35 to 44 billion pounds. The FT, however, also said the actual net figure over many decades is expected to be 45 billion euros. So let's say it's about 40 billion pound divorce bill has been agreed, give or take a few billion on either side. This is a bid, of course, to make a breakthrough in the Brexit talks to get on to talking about the trade and what the future relationship with the UK and EU is going to look like. The EU is reported to have given a broad welcome to the UK's offer of about 40 billion divorce bill, so hopefully this is a good indication that negotiations can go forward. The Times, as you can see, is emphasising that the UK is going to be paying money to the EU for decades as a result of this deal. The payment of the divorce bill will be spread over 40 years on a diminishing scale. Very interesting and very significant news as well in pretty much all the papers today. One more story coming more internationally, looking over at North Korea. Now, North Korea has announced they have tested an intercontinental ballistic missile which could hit any part of the mainland US. Very, very significant if true. The UN Security Council is supposed to hold an emergency meeting today to discuss this issue. Kim Jong-un's government said it has achieved its ambition of making North Korea a nuclear state, adding, however, that it wanted peace in the world. Donald Trump, the US president, has been reported as saying one line, "We will take care of it," to his advisers when he was informed of the launch. The BBC saying that US scientists do say that the range in terms of what the missiles are able to hit is a fair estimation. They can hit any part of the US mainland now. However, they doubt that these missiles would be able to carry the heavy nuclear payload to make them significant nuclear weaponry. But that is a very significant story. Expect more lines on that when the US president and indeed America wakes up in a few hours' time. But that's pretty much it for today. You're up to date. Don't forget you can find all the latest on what we're doing here on Core Politics on our Facebook page and on Twitter right here. But from me and all the team here at Core London, have a fantastic Wednesday.